everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Optimism Show. Today we have Carlos from Aragon. Carlos, welcome. It's a pleasure having you here.
Hello. Glad to be here. Super excited.
Likewise, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation that we're going to have, especially around DAOs and governance and the whole ecosystem over there. But before we get into that, could you just briefly, in a few seconds, tell us a bit more about yourself and exactly what you do at Aragon?
Sure. So my name is Carlos. And today you might find me by Juar.is. That's my surname, actually, Juarez, or like Juarez. So that's the whole reason for it. Many people call me Juan or other names. I'm Carlos. So I joined Aragon 3 years ago, actually. Previously, I was co-founder of Guesser. It was a prediction markets company in 2017 that got acquired by Gemini, the exchange. I stayed in Gemini for a whole year, doing staking stuff for them. Just like focus on Ethereum mainly. That's always been my niche, so to say. And still is. And when I got actually tired a little bit of like a big company and like trying to push things that were super cool and like getting pushback, just because like it's a bigger company, very regulated, like things move slower, I decided to jump off the ship. And I got a message from a good friend, Luis, to try to come back to Aragon and like help them on the technology side of things. And then it's when I joined again 3 years ago on Aragon to be the CTO. What I do personally in Aragon is mostly on like the research side of things, ensuring that the technology that we do, it's future-proof, that is safe, and that all our clients get like all the things that they need, and like all the problems coming from the clients are actually either they go through the product or through a custom solution or whatever, but the actual client is happy, and we push forward governance and decentralization for the whole ecosystem.
Fantastic. And you also helped a lot of DAOs actually established. If I'm not wrong, over 7,500. That's quite impressive numbers.
Well,
I bet a lot of people know that there's that many DAOs out there.
So, that's a funny number. At the end, it's all about like what's the fat tail and the long tail. The long tail is huge, but to be fair, when you actually go and check out those DAOs, mostly all of them are empty. Like, for example, I remember when we launched on Base, we were one of the few first protocols. Like, we were live the first day that Base was live. And you could see a lot of people that were just like, hey, I'm going to create a DAO just in case Base ever launch a token, I get some airdrop. So like, not that we are going to launch a token, it's not for us, but like people just were doing stuff on chain just in case they can get something. So there were a lot of DAOs that were sort of like just spamming, so to say. And then we have like the fat tail that we have big players like, for example, Lido, Polygon, Mode Network. We have like smaller DeFi projects as well internally. So like, 7,000 DAOs or more than 7,000. But like, honestly, we have projects all around the way. Like that long tail and then that fat tail as well.
That's quite an interesting perspective. One question on that side, as you mentioned, especially the bigger DAOs, I'm really curious. Can you tell us a bit more about, on one side, what are the most successful DAOs that you helped so far? And why do you think they actually had the success that they're having and what they're doing right?
That's a very good question. And there is no single answer. Like everyone expects, tell me what's the governance model that works. And it's like, dude, like it really depends on the stage you are. What is it that you do? Do you have revenue? Like there are so many things that you have to take into consideration. I would say for smaller projects or projects that are trying to start, like you definitely need to keep being agile. Like you cannot start on like huge governance battles, forum posts, months of discussions. Like you don't have a community that is going to push you in that sense. Once you become Aave or Maker, that becomes a reality. And like going even beyond of the ones that we have internally in Aragon, Aave works super well and Maker does work super well as well. I would say personally, I think Aave works a little bit better in the governance side of things than Maker, but like still think that they both work. And Lido does it as well. And I think Lido, for example, is also very like both Aave and Lido are very innovative in different ways. I think, for example, Lido is innovating a lot on dual governance, which is something that we in Aragon follow. Like we use it for many DAOs as well. Dual governance basically is like the core team creates proposals. And again, this is not how everything works in Lido. It's just a part of it. And a big part is like core team creates proposals. So like anyone in the core team, just go ahead and create a proposal.
Yeah.
And then you have token holders that can veto those proposals. It's more permissionless. So like only the core team can create those proposals. But at the same time, you don't have to filter, or you don't have to filter directly in the UI. Because something that was happening is like many people were creating proposals and creating proposals that made actually no sense, or like made very little sense. So now it's more like you go to the forum and you need to get the core team, or like the core team is not just internal Lido, there's more people, but like the multi-sig members to create the proposal for you, to sponsor it. And similar to what happens in nouns, it's just like a little bit more closed. And that's giving them enough speed to keep posting proposals and keep posting innovation, while the token holders still have a big power in the terms of like, if they don't like something, they just veto it, and it's not going to happen. So that's a good approach to it. And that's something that generally, if you are asking me for something generic, I would say that dual governance or optimistic, that works very well.
And when it comes to some things, like when we are going to specifics, as you mentioned, like Aave and Polygon and the other DAOs, what are some specific things and specific examples that you saw working for them in those cases that might not be replicable for others, but you're like, okay, that's a good idea that you're doing over there, and like, I like it.
Okay. I'm going to talk about the one that I'm most excited about right now, which is in the superchain ecosystem. So that is good. And that one is Mode. So Mode chain, not sure like how much you followed that one. And it's one that I've been personally working on. So I'm certainly biased, but it's working fairly like super well. We've been live for a month and a half with Mode, with their governance, and I'll explain why it's specific to them. And in less than a month, I think, or month and a half, something like that, 43% of the total circulating supply has been staked. That's literally almost half of the circulating supply. It has been locked. And I'm not saying, yeah, it's crazy. And I'm not saying that you should always focus on the price. I'm not saying that, but you should not forget about the price, because like at the end, something that has happened to many DAOs is that if the price becomes too low and the treasury keeps maintaining, then you get in the risk of governance capture. So like people can buy a lot of token to take over the DAO. Like that is very risky. Like that is a problem that you need to always consider. So you need to think about tokenomics 100% of the time. And you also need to be thinking about governance. And that's something that the Mode team understands very well. So when we started doing the governance, they were like, we want to make it secure long-term. So we want to make sure that the token is able to like be used for governance, sort of as the first step. So what Mode is doing is having a gauge system. So like you lock your tokens or you stake them. In this case, it's more a staking. It's not a lock. You can exit. So you stake your tokens, your Mode tokens, or Mode VPT, which is basically Mode tokens in a pool with Ether. So sort of like to augment the liquidity, the Ether liquidity that there is in the whole chain. So you stake those tokens, and then you get to vote. You get rewards on that, OP tokens actually, a little bit. And additionally, you get to vote on where to distribute even more rewards to the whole Mode ecosystem. So basically, you choose which projects get which OP tokens. Those projects then are using those tokens to incentivize their growth. So what is happening in Mode is like, not only they are getting more Ether and people to lock liquidity to grow the ecosystem and being able to have better trades, but also they are incentivizing the growth of all the projects that are being deployed on the mode ecosystem. So basically, the whole ecosystem grows, getting more TVL, getting more liquidity, more sustainable prices, which is the root of any governance system. And also the first step of that, which is the grants program, so to say. And that is something that, again, I'm super proud of. It's been working really well. The feedback from the community has been amazing. Like, I've never launched a product that has received so much love from everyone. Even super crazy DeFi people. Like, when we launched it, 2 days later, I received a message on Slack from a friend. And he was like, hey guys, there is some people sharing random links on Twitter about our mode build. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay, let me check those. So I went to those links, random links over Twitter, and people were doing like a bribe list on Google Sheets on like how much projects were paying them to vote to give rewards to those projects. Kind of like a whole flywheel of like mode incentivizing projects incentivizing people to vote for those projects. So like everyone was getting some of the rewards. And like people were creating like Google Sheets on like who gave the most APY, people like then projects starting to fight over which project had more APY. Like it became like, they are calling it now the governance games, because suddenly everyone started fighting over who can get more votes. And like every couple of weeks, we see like someone jumping on the charts, because we have some charts over which project gets most, and it's been changing quite a bit. So that has been super fun.
That's an interesting use case, but then don't you think like if projects pay people to vote, doesn't that really kind of change the whole dynamic of like, okay, there might be some projects, as the way that I see it, like in governance in the first place, it's established, so there's like more, let's say, equality in a sense. But in this case, it's more like pay to win. Don't you think it makes it more pay to win?
It really depends on what is your goal. I don't think it's bad. Like, for example, you probably have heard delegates asking to be paid for their work, and that is totally fair. But like, who is the one is going to pay for that work? In my opinion, it's fair to be paid by the things that they proposed, as long as it's open and transparent. That is for me like where things change. If you are paying someone to do something without being transparent, that is not lobbying. That is like being shady, and that is not cool. But like, if everything happens on chain, it's public. You are still open to decide if that's what you want to do or not. And like, people will be able to see it, and people will be able to see what you do. And these gauges, or like the projects people can vote on, those are whitelisted by mode or by the project that it's owning those. So they can decide like, oh, what you're doing is not cool, so you are getting delisted. So that is an option. Anytime they can delete one of the gauges if they misbehave. But so far, hasn't been the case. Everyone is playing, I would say, within the rules, and like giving rewards that are fair. And like, again, people are voting, and people are like voting based on like if they like the project and if they get paid. And I do think that is fair. Like, if you are voting, if you are providing a service, I don't think why not. Also, like, you're staking your tokens, which means you are providing liquidity. Normally, for example, those projects that are giving you bribes, they do it only if you provide liquidity or do something on their network as well, on their project as well. So it's kind of like, yeah, you are getting paid, but you're getting paid to provide a service, to give some work, to give some thought into something. And I do think that is totally fair.
No, that's a good point actually that you made there. Like, you are actually providing a service, so it is fair to get paid for that. And I think Mode, if I'm not wrong, they even did like compared to other chains, they did quite a different thing when it comes to their community. So you can only enter their community if you're already a holder of X amount of Mode.
No, not
Or
well.
they should like that, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, no, yeah, that is true. So what they do, it's like they have seasons, and each season, so like this is the third one. Each season has been a different type of like governance, so to say. it like we have started doing this in the third season. We are already planning for fourth season. I cannot spill the beans, but it's going to be cooler than this one for sure. And so yeah, things have been changed. The good thing about mod is that they actually listen, and I think it's 4 months each season, something like that. Every season they change the rules, they learn, and they iterate. So like that is super cool.
That is amazing, actually, especially that iteration cycle. Like, it's a never ending process in the end. And I'm really
Yep.
curious, like, you give this example about mode in this case and how they're really figuring out governance. But there's, like, let's be frank, there's many other chains and organizations that really struggle to get people voting and to get people active in governance.
Hmm.
I'd love to hear your perspective on that, and why do you see, first of all, that problem arises and happens, and what are some potential solutions that chains can do, or
So
DAOs?
yeah. At the end of the day, people won't participate if there is nothing at all in any sense for them to be voting on. What I mean by this, because like this might sound a little bit harsh on some of the projects, but like if what you are giving to me, it's a technical proposal to vote on whether or not I want to upgrade a contract, which is obviously that we all want to upgrade that contract. And either way, even if I vote no, the core team still has enough tokens to pass me. I'm sorry, I'm not going to vote. Um, I'm not willing to do so. And that is, at this point, it's most of the cases. Like, even with some of the projects that we work on, it's like, guys, we can do this. But like, if you are not transparent with yourself, if you're not honest, you're not going to get voters. And most of the projects right now, they might do it for legal purposes, or they might do it for just because they want to exit the community or whatever. They are not being honest. And like, people are not dumb. You're not going to participate, or you're not going to spend your time, which is valuable, on something that is not going to be fruitful either for your bugs or for your knowledge or for your exposure into the community. You need to get something, either learning, so knowledge or money, or exposure in terms of like this will help you be hired by your other team or something. People don't do this without any reason. Um, and that is like something that is a struggle for all of them. They think that just because you have a DAO, that it means that everyone will participate. And no, you have to provide something for the community, and that is expensive. So, like for example, I think people want like small projects, especially like I'm not talking here like big projects. Another like
Yeah.
big change is another whole thing. Okay, but like for smaller projects, the goal should not be have a huge governance. Because like you don't have you don't have a big community that can take care of that, and you don't have a budget to take care of that. So don't have something like dual governance that Lido has. You create the proposals and you let your token holders to veto. That's it. It's fast. It's quick. If any of the token holders want to create a proposal, they just have to submit it in Discord or forum, and you can put it up for them. That's fast. It works. Move on to the next thing. You should focus on your product and grow your product. And once you're a big project, then you can start decentralizing even more. I'm talking about that, like bigger projects. I think Optimism, even though they receive a lot of heat, I think they're doing it well. Like Agora, for example, they are an amazing team. I know we are competitors, Aragon and Agora, but like they are amazing. Like we love them. We have really good relationship and we create events together. And I think Optimism, again, even like things have gone south sometimes, like I think generally they've done a good work and they are actually putting lots of love into it. And I would say for bigger projects, well, I'm going to say another hot take. delegates are difficult.
Kind of like
Like
it translates from the real political world to the on-chain
yeah,
world.
like I want, like for example, delegates want to get paid. I'm okay with paying delegates. I'm okay with paying delegates a lot of money, but only if they do a good job. And right now, I couldn't name many delegates that do a good job. I don't think I have. I don't think it's more than these
But
fingers.
one thing, like why when it comes to delegates specifically, like a lot of
Yep.
people see the word delegate. I'm a delegate here, I'm a delegate there. But I don't think it's even transparent, like what they're doing in the first place.
Interesting. Yeah, I was
So,
in the other
like,
day. Yeah.
so sorry to interrupt you. So there, maybe that's one of the reasons. Like, it might not even be transparent to them what they are supposed to do.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Like quite often the rules are super open. It's like you can create, for example, if it's a token voting DAO, which is like the most generic thing, definitely don't recommend that. Any DAO, don't do token voting. That's generally quite bad. Like I'm talking like a token voting that allows for anything. That's, in my opinion, super bad. Um, are you expecting delegates to do core engineering proposals? That's not like that. That's a disaster. Not because of the delegates cannot be good engineers, but like more like alignment. Alignment is super important in organizations. And like if you have a team that is going this direction and another one that is going that direction in the same smart contract, that is not going to work, 100%. So getting that alignment, I agree with you. Like it's super important. And like right now, I can understand delegates being a little bit like, what exactly am I supposed to do here? What are the rules? And that is not very clear in many DAOs. That said, it's also like I just like reflecting, coming back to the original point that I was having, and delegates don't knowing what to do. Projects are not generally being very honest. Like if you have a DAO and then all the proposals are supposed to be coming from the team, just say so. Like just have dual governance, and that is okay. Delegates know what to do. They provide feedback and that's it. But they won't be like putting more effort that they were not supposed to be doing. At least they won't have to do work that is not valuable. So like I do agree. Like delegates could be more directed in DAOs. And yeah, I agree.
And
So like, oh yeah,
go
go.
ahead.
No, go.
I was just gonna ask you, like, so when it comes to DAOs, especially nowadays, in the beginning you said like there's also a lot of DAOs that were created just for the sake of being created in the first place.
Yeah.
Um, Going back to that question, so when someone creates a DAO right now, and they actually want to make a DAO that works, what are some
Yeah.
things that these founders should specifically keep in mind? And especially, what are the things that they should secure before they even think of creating that DAO?
I'm going back to the thing that I said before. It depends on the stage you are. So if you are starting out, like if you are a team of 3, don't be a DAO. Period. Like don't even try. Don't want to hear from you. Like if you are 3 people and come to me, hey, what great to create my DAO, I will say no, don't. Like I'm here as you're a DAO advisor. As you're a DAO advisor, don't do it. It's bad for you because like you're going to launch a token and like a governance model and so on, which decentralization is not the most efficient thing to do normally. So like that means you're going to iterate slower than your competition. In small startups, like I'm a startup founder, and that's what I've been doing like my whole life. And speed is crucial. You are losing that. First, create a product, get users, get TVL, get revenue, whatever is that is your North metric, get that. Once you get that, you come talk to us. Or any DAO provider. Like I'm not saying you only have Aragon. Like there are There are a few players there, like 3 major ones. Come talk to any of us. We will help you through that process. And most of us do that for free. Like the consulting, we do it for free just because we want the community to thrive. And we will review your token standards. We'll make sure that you won't have any problems at the technical level to get listed on an exchange. We'll make sure that there are no blockers in the future for you when trying to decentralize. Just like we just give you like a green check on everything. And I would say all the providers do that. And based on that, you do your TGE, you launch your token. That's a good first step. Then it depends. What is it that you want? Generally, instead of saying things that you should do, it depends on your project, I would say don't do pure token voting. That is the number one thing. Like, I'm getting tired at this point of like bashing so much on token voting in general, but like I haven't seen a single DAO, not even one, that has managed to do this properly at scale. And if like, I don't think you will be the exception. So don't try to do things that have failed. It's better to innovate and like explore, which is you're a founder. So like you should try that. Yeah, go.
What are some ways, like other than for the structure of the DAO that you saw working really well? Like, for example, like this one does not work like pure token volume, but what are some ways that, for example, that are fairly simple and that's like, okay, this is the way to go, especially if it's let's say a smaller company, not a massive organization. They are fit to create a DAO, but they're not on one spectrum where it's super simple, and they're not on the other spectrum where they have to add delegates and all of this and all of that.
Yeah. So the most simple one is the one that I mentioned before from Lido, dual governance. Super simple. Everyone understands it. Doesn't stop that much the speed of your project. So you have a multisig, safe or whatever, can also be a Aragon multisig, whatever you want. A multisig, generally, I recommend people like having a good, decent amount of people in that multisig. Some people have to be operational, so like just pinging people, and having external people as well. Don't try to like own the whole thing. It's fine having external people, kind of like advisors or VCs if you have so, or people that you want to be close with you, or like security people can be, for example, Open Zeppelin or us that will review your proposals or something like that. That's always good to have. So that group of people can create proposals, reaching obviously like a majority in the multisig. And that goes to a period where token holders can veto. That is called dual governance. And after that, you execute. If you want, you can add a time lock at the end if you want. But I don't think it's necessary. That is very simple. It works. We have it done already. So like if you have that, if any project has any need for that, just come to us. We'll give it to you for free. It's all open source that we do. Yeah, that is a simple one. And it takes you a long way.
That is as you said, like it's a fairly simple model that doesn't slow you down that much, but you still get the benefits of the DAOs. And
exactly.
I have two more questions for you. So one of them is like, where do you see, especially right now that we're in the upwards market, the bull market, or whatever you want to call it, where do you see DAOs progressing this coming years, and what do you see are some necessary changes that are going to happen there?
Yeah. So on the first question, what is it going to be happening in the next year, couple of years? That is something that we started bootstrapping in Aragon, and now like all the other players are catching up. It's a modularity. So like our stack is super modular. It is basically an executor, and then you install plugins to it. So like you literally call a function that is install this plugin, and it prepares all the permissions for it. What this means is like you can have a multisig, an Aragon multisig, and then tomorrow you're like, okay, I want dual governance. You attach another plugin, you connect these two plugins. So, and now you suddenly, without having to change anything, you have an optimistic dual governance. And now you're like, okay, actually, I also want grants for my DAO. And I want it all in the same DAO, not different contracts, not different executors, same treasury, and just different permissions. So you install another third plugin, which is only for like the grants programming. You can have some gauges, for example. And then you're like, okay, but my token is dumping a little bit. I want to create like a staking contract or like V token. You create another one, attach it to as a plugin. You get it managed by the DAO, and people can start locking their contracts in there. And everything is upgradable and controlled within the same ecosystem. So that modularity is key, because something that is very, very clear, and I think Optimus, in my opinion, was one of the key thinkers here. In a DAO, you cannot expect everything to be governed in the same structure. So like, for example, the grants. It's not the same distributing grants than voting for a protocol upgrade. And like thinking that same people are able to vote on that thing in the same way, it's nuts. It doesn't make any sense. It's slow. It's painful. Like, doesn't work. So attached to this modularity, which is more on the technical side, what I think it will come, or thanks to this modularity, I think is going to become super clear is that DAOs require different governance models for different types of actions that they have to do. So like protocol upgrades are a little bit different and require more security council reviews and so on. They're a little bit more slow, but need to be 100% secure. That's one type of proposals. Then you might have like fee distributions. Those are really good for gauges, for example. So like rank voting. Then you might have like normal proposals for treasury management, or you might have like a private multisig for treasury management that is controlled and has certain permissions. So like what I think is going to start happening is like a DAO is not one governance model, but several pieces that all together manage the treasury and the permissions over the protocol. I think that is going to become it's going to become very clear this upcoming year.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. When you think about it, it's not the same people that are experts in this and that they need to manage this. It's in fact like the same moment with the same assumption that everything has to be under one roof. You're kind of going a bit of a tangent here, but you're kind of replicating the exact government that we already have. And we just moved on chain to do something different, but you're replicating it on chain. Same roof, same people doing everything, but not really exploring what are the possibilities. At least from my perspective, that's how I see it.
Exactly. And like the first thing that we said in Aragon, like kind of our motto is governance at the speed of software. We want to do that. And like, I understand not every single protocol needs to be like iterating every single day and changing the rules all the time. That's not how it should be. But like, there should be a place for innovators. There should be a place for trailblazers that want to try out new and different things in governance that then can be copied if worked. So for example, what we're doing with Mode is heavily inspired by like big players like Curve. And it's taken years for the industry to pick up what Curve did and the things that work out and the things that didn't work out, because definitely some things didn't work out. And to enable that, you need a system that it's safe to iterate on top. And that's what we are focused on. But on coming back to the first question that you had, like, what is something that will need to be fixed or addressed? I would say cross-chain stuff. It's very complicated still. Also, like pointing at the super chain. You guys are not making it easy. Yeah, that is fairly complicated.
But how do you see that progressing? Like, how would you approach that? Because in the end, it's a challenge. It's a challenge that's quite big, and it's getting bigger and bigger, especially as more and more chains start popping up. So how do you see that approaching that challenge, even just to start moving in a direction that's better than it is now?
Um, I would say, hope I don't get much heat from this. I'm generally bearish on optimistic rollups, but not in a way that seems bad for optimism. In a way that is good for optimism. And let me explain on that. So this is one of the hot takes that when I explain, people are like, no, well, yes. So what I think is happening is like optimistic rollups are winning right now because they can adapt super fast. And you just spin them up. You don't need to spend that much money. So they work. But they are technically inferior, period. I don't care. Come at me. I'm ready for that. They are technically inferior. And the problem is like when you settle, or like when you want to come back to Ethereum, which is like the settlement layer or like communication layer, it takes 5 days just for the security. So like that's huge drawback. So what I'm super bullish on like what ReZero and SP1, ReZero just did a little bit better, but like that wrapper on top of Optimism chains that allow you to settle as if you were a CK chain. That is the most bullish technology there is right now. Because you may think like it's just for settle onto layer one. Nah, that is like, I'm okay, 5 days, it's okay. I can go to Jumper and like, maybe it's not that secure, but that works. It's not about that. It's like now you suddenly have communication between cross chains as well. Because you can verify on an L, like you can bridge to the L1 and then use that on another L2. So suddenly you have within an hour communication between two layer twos. So like you could communicate between Base and Optimism, for example. So that allows for cross-chain voting, allows for like having a DAO that is across different chains and can communicate on set execution. So like maybe you are like kind of like Aave or like another a protocol that is in several chains. You can configure your protocol atomically with all the chains at the same time. That I think we'll start to see not next year, but the upcoming one. And actually, we received a grant from Optimism a couple months ago to achieve this with ReZero. And like, I have it working on testnet. I've been working all my nights on getting that done. I'm so excited. Multi-chain voting, super trustless, no bridges, and it's gasless. Like you don't have to spend $1 for voting. So like this CK technology on top of an OP stack that is flexible and people can iterate on, that is what I'm bullish on. And I think that's the way to go. I think is what is going to solve the problems. The only thing is that it's a bit early still, but oh boy, that's going to change a lot.
That's good to hear, actually. But as you said, like it's especially these things when you see it right now. There's so much movement and so much heat in the crypto space that there are things that are going on that are really big that will take some time. Like they're like we're building in the background. Things take time.
Yeah.
Like things take time. Saw the meme going.
Totally. Which,
Carlos,
that's another topic.
Thank you for sharing all this. Is there anything that I should have asked you up until now that maybe I missed and didn't ask you that you want to share?
I mean, I could be talking the whole day about crypto. That's how it is. I think I've gone through the most important thing is my takes on the super chain ecosystem, which I'm super bullish on, to be fair. Governance models. Yeah, like I think it's all good. I think I've touched most of the points, if not all.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you for sharing all these points. A lot of gold in here. It was a pleasure having you here today.
Likewise. Anytime.